think we're moving forward kind of incrementally, which is the only way to go. We have a long way to go, but I would think that's probably the case for the vast majority of the teams at this time of year. We're able to obviously do some work from kind of the end of August, to October 15th. So did some foundational stuff, kind of put the little bit of the skeleton together of what we want to do. But now that we can go longer and the hours restrictions are lifted in terms of from 2 hours a week on the floor, now you get 20 hours a week total. It's a lot more comprehensive and detailed, and so we're working on some things. We've got again, we're not going to be near ready for our first scrimmage. We never are. It's always a work in progress, but goal right now is to be as good as we can on November 10th, and then obviously continue to get better from there. But I've seen some good things. I think we got a group that's unselfish. We've got a lot of skill. We got a lot of guys that can make plays. We got a lot of guys that can make shots. I think we got a lot of versatility, both offensively and defensively. So there's a lot of positives. I think certainly we've got to figure out defensively and develop that blue collar mentality that all good teams have. And we lost two of the best defensive players in the country when you look at Luquan Choice and Paul Woods, not only in their ability to guard but their versatility defensively. I know we've covered that and talked about how versatile both those guys were, and you plug those two in plus Hunter Spall. That's a lot of corporate knowledge that's gone, and again we're everybody looks at it from losing Luquan and Chris Perry, losing two All-Americans who scored a lot. I think, and we'll see, time will tell, but I think offensively we've got a chance to be pretty good. The question for this team is going to be how good are we going to be defensively without those two? Who's going to step up and become lockdown defenders, because every team in this league has at least one, and a lot of teams have more than one guys that are elite guys. And so who's going to kind of rise up to that role, and can we develop the ability to do those intangible things, defend at a high level and rebound the ball and do all the things that we've done over the previous years that allowed us to have some level of success. Well, it's a work in progress, but I think that's the biggest thing this time of year is you're trying to get guys to play together. We have a lot more continuity than we had, let's say, last year. And not as much continuity as we had, the year before. So we're kind of in between. But I think guys are, adapting to one another pretty well. I mean, we have really most of the guys that are going to be in the rotation were here, whether they played last year or redshirted last year. And you get a guy like Josh Odom. Josh is a guy that I think is a pretty easy fit. He's a guy that's really unselfish. He's a guy that's really versatile. He's a guy that accentuates the guys around him because he's constantly looking to make plays for other guys. So it's not been a difficult meshing to this point. Certainly, we'll see how it is. We haven't had any adversity yet. We haven't scrimmaged anybody. Nobody's had to give up playing time or shots or any of those things. But early returns are good. In terms of chemistry and camaraderie and all those things that you want to have at this stage of the year. I think we got good guys. We've got some guys that are experienced. It's a weird roster. We have, really three seniors that have been here. Dorian Emmanuel been here for 4 years, Trey 3 years. And then really Josh is a senior, but he's a 1-year guy, and then we have no scholarship. Everybody else is a scholarship player is a sophomore or a freshman. So there's a huge gap there, and the majority of our roster, I think 14 of 18 are freshmen and sophomores. So there's a learning curve, but I like the way they're working. I like the way that they play together. I think again they've been to this point pretty unselfish. And that's a starting point. We got to develop. We have a long way to go in terms of probably our toughness and our grit, but the unselfish aspect I think is there. We got a good group of guys, and it helps. Obviously, when you have a number of guys that can play make and they're unselfish, I think it's contagious. And you got guys like Josh, and certainly I think Dorian's been as good as anybody over the years that are really willing passers, and I think that's contagious to the group. Well, hopefully, just get an evaluation of kind of where we are, a snapshot of where we are at the moment. I don't expect it to be great. We just haven't had enough time to prepare and for everything that we're going to see. We don't have enough, experience playing together. And again, you utilize, at Division II, you get 3 outside competitions before you play, and you're trying to utilize those to just get an awareness of things you need to work on. Because in practice, good things happen, bad things happen. Usually, something caused that. Whether the offense was good, there was a mistake defensively, defense was good, maybe the offense messed up. So you're constantly critiquing inside of what you're doing. So it gives you a chance to go outside and see what you look like against somebody else. You don't know really, if you got a top 7 or 8 and they're playing against the other 7 guys and how good those 7 are. So you don't really have a great gauge. So hopefully we'll get a gauge, a snapshot of where we are. We'll get some exposure to what we got to work on, which to me, going into it, pretty much expect will be exposed in pretty much all areas because, there's nothing that we do well yet. But again, it's about getting experience, getting some of these young guys. We got a lot of guys who, we're talking about the 5, and those 5 for sure. Nobody else has played significant minutes at LMU, and 2 of those guys, Scoot and Deshaun are sophomores that played, same amount as freshmen, but they're just sophomores. So the reality is we want to get guys experience, want to get them in-game experience, want to see how we play together. When the lights come on, it's always a little bit different when you're playing somebody else, even if it doesn't count in terms of regular season contests. So we're excited to get out there and lace them up. I don't know, like I said, I wouldn't expect it's going to look great. I expect we'll leave there with a lot of areas to improve upon, but that's what this time of year is for, is to kind of try to build some habits, and then the key is to get sharper and sharper as the year goes on. We always talk about we want to be really process oriented, and our goal is to come in and try to get better the next day and not be overly moved. I mean, certainly we want to try to win every single game we play, but not to be overly affected by the result, and to come in the next day trying to get better. And because win or lose, the next day comes, and the next challenge is awaiting, and that's whether you win the national championship or you finish last place in your league. It's the next day comes, and you have to move forward, and so hopefully we'll get some truth. We'll try to learn from it. We'll get exposed in some areas, and we'll come back and try to get better on Tuesday.